everyone,
it's Peyton and Paige, and today we're going to be talking about the commission process.
So once a potential client emails you, this is where you go from there.
Step one, or more like pre-step one, you're going to be talking to the client and you're going to want to ask what size they're interested in, what medium. Unless you only have one medium you work in, then you can be like, these are the sizes I offer, this is the medium that I work in. And then I always right away ask for pictures because I want to see if I can even work with what they're offering me or if I need to ask for other reference pictures. Email or message they send me is just asking for more information. So I try to include it like as much as like all the important things in that first email. So I put my price list. If I'm offering multiple mediums and they're different prices, I include that. I say what sizes I offer. I also talk about how long it could take.
Because the idea is to have as few emails as possible. It moves the process much quicker. You can find information much quicker if you have all of their responses in one email. You don't have to waste time on the back and forth, especially because email isn't like how we text nowadays. It takes a little bit longer typically.
Yeah, totally.
So after finalizing size, finding a good reference image, and what medium, we move on to signing the contract and getting a deposit.
Yes. Right now, I take a 35% deposit of the total price of the artwork, and this just makes sure if for some reason they back out, you don't hear from them again, that at least your materials and some of your time is covered. You can make that percentage as much as you want. You can even ask for the full amount up front. It's whatever you're most comfortable with. I've considered upping mine up to 50%. And having that deposit really just weeds out the people who aren't actually planning on paying you. And never ship out the work before getting all that payment. Before I get started on the sketch and the artwork, I want to make sure that I get a signed contract from them. When I was making my contract, I went into some of the beginner like colored pencil groups and different groups I was in on Facebook and I asked for like some examples. Or you could Google examples just to get some ideas of some things you want to make sure you have in your contract. Mine lists the size, the medium, the materials, what they want the name of the artwork to be. One of the most important things that I have in my contract is that I have the rights to the reference photo they gave me. So when you're initially talking to them, find out if they're the ones that took that photo. If it looks suspiciously good, you should ask if it was a professional photographer, and if it was, then you're going to need to get their contact information and get permission from them, because or else you will be in legal problems if they find out. It's not good. Just don't do it. And then it also states that I'm the only one that can reproduce the artworks. They have to buy prints through me. They can't sell prints, that kind of stuff. I also state that while I use all archival and light-fast materials in my artwork, I do recommend hanging it behind UV-resistant glass and hanging it out of direct sunlight and not in areas with high moisture like bathrooms. And this just keeps you protected in case something were to happen and things faded. It was not under your control. But it also just kind of informs them of things they should or shouldn't do when framing their artwork and displaying their artwork. If you need some help coming up with your contract, you can always message us and I can send you an example of mine over.
After that contract is signed and you receive the deposit,
very important.
Where do you go from there?
So once I've received the deposit and they return the contract back to me signed, that's when I start on my sketch. So I usually sketch it separately, like not on the material I'm going to be working on, because then if they want to change something, then it's more difficult to change on your final surface. So I'll sketch it, and then once I'm happy with my sketch, I send a picture to them, ask if there's any final changes they want, and if there isn't, they've approved it. That's when I start on the actual artwork. And this is also when my timeline begins. I say 4 to 6 weeks. So once the sketch is finalized, that's when that 4 to 6 weeks starts. If there was something they wanted to change and it's not like a real quick, simple fix, then it's good to have something set aside, a chart for yourself of how much you're going to charge for that extra time and labor. Like if they didn't like, I don't know, the color of the background, that's going to take you a lot of time depending on the medium, and you need to have a price for that. You can't just, because it's in your contract not to change things after the sketch. So if that was agreed on and then they don't like how it turned out, then that's not your fault. When taking payment, I prefer to use PayPal, or you could use Venmo, goods and services, and it protects both you and the client. While working on the artwork after the sketch, I don't share any more pictures with them. In my contract, it states that I share photos on social media, and you can watch progress on there, but I don't send them to the client. And this just protects me because I also state that after the sketch, no changes can be made. And sometimes if you're sending them these pictures, art goes through an ugly stage, and they're going to see that and be scared by it because they don't realize that it does get better from there. That's not it. So this just keeps all these requests from happening. Once I'm done with the artwork, I send them a picture. If they're happy with it, then I take the final payment and get it shipped out to them and send them the tracking number. In my price list that I send over, I also state that it does not include shipping fees. So when I'm getting ready for that final payment, I ask for their address so that I can estimate shipping costs. I use Pirate Ship for this and tell them the final price, which they already knew how much they still owed me, plus shipping costs. And then once that's all paid, that's when I finally buy the label, package it, and get it shipped off to them. If you have any other questions about taking commissions, maybe about your contract, feel free to reach out or comment below, and we'd love to help you out. Taking commissions can be scary at first, but you can do this.
I totally know. I just took my first commission. It's a hard process if you don't have someone to help walk you through it, and if you haven't thought about all these questions beforehand. Make sure you really take time to figure out what your process is going to be. So in the moment, you're not a deer in headlights.
Yeah, especially how long it's going to take you, and always estimate longer than you think it's going to take. So if something happens, yes, and then you still have time to spare. I think that's also in my contract is like, if some emergency were to happen, then the timeline may get pushed out.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe below. Hit us up with any questions you have, and we'll see you next week. Bye. I did that way too smooth.